Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Alan Rosen.
Welcome to CAD 116 in our weekly Zoom meeting. Module 10. Module 10 is our last module. Module 10 goes through block references and attributes. And the assignment for Module 10 is this computer lab with social distancing, which we will explain shortly, where we'll put in these blocks of these different computers and other elements like plotters and 3D printers, and then just make sure that everything is far enough apart to maintain with the CDC guidelines. Let's talk a little bit about the calendar and the assignments. Al, do you want to go through and tell them about the practice exam?
Certainly. Practice exam is really nice. You can use open book, open note, open computer, anything you need to. It works fine. It's not hooked up to anything else to put a grade in, but it will get you the best grade available and tell you about it. If you take that, you can also print it out and get the ideas, what's going on, and keep it if you want to, and use it for the quiz and the midterm final also. It's on there right there. So if you click on it, automatically comes up and you just do your thing.
Exactly. And so Al's done a great job with, getting you guys the tools that you need to practice so that you'll be successful. And it's not unusual to be able to have all these resources available to you. So we want you to know that if you get a job, there's nothing wrong with opening the book or, finding the answers yourself. And so we do make the books available while you take the exams. But the idea is that you just get used to being able to find the answers and be able to talk the talk and use the language. And so a lot of these are just questions that we have from the quizzes, but this is available. You can take it an unlimited number of times, and it just helps you with your knowledge level. If we get back to the main splash page.
And the main one will come on May 5th. It's honor lock unit. So hopefully you picked out the $11.99 one, so you can take as many as you want.
That's right. And so the final exam will be extremely similar to the final practice exam. It's a test base. It's a base of questions. And so we'll use honor lock for that. And then module 10 will be due next week. That'll be our last module. So with that, we have a nice exit plan for you. Okay, you can take the final exam beginning Monday next week. And once you have the final exam under your belt, all you have to do is complete up to module 10, and you have completed the assigned work for the course. So with that, let's talk about module 10, and we'll go into our lesson for today. So block references and attributes. Okay, blocks are essentially like templates. Okay, you used to go down to the bookstore, or you would buy drafting templates, and they were not cheap. You actually had to have all these little plastic templates, a lot of measuring instruments, a lot of tools for standard drafting. But with CAD, we don't need to do that anymore. We create these drawings on the computer, and then we have these different templates that we can use. There are some basic rules for them. And so as we go through and we look at how blocks are defined, or W blocks, what we're looking at is the book information. So if we look at chapter 24, and let's see if it'll let me make it bigger this time. Nope. So glitches seem to be a part of the thing. I think we're stressing the internet too much now. So create and save blocks, insert blocks, edit blocks, create blocks as drawing files. And so blocks go into what's called a block table that's exclusive to the drawing that you're in, whereas W blocks are more the current way of doing things, where you can go and find these different things that you want to draw, like appliances, and then you create a block library. So layers is important. We create the objects on layer 0 because layer 0 is kind of like this universal layer that if you create the objects on that layer and then you insert those objects on a different layer, then the object that was inserted will take on the same color, line type, line weight, the attributes of that layer. But it only works if you create the block on layer 0. So here's the creating block command. And then as we look at it, it's sort of a thing where you want to collect content. And so as you start to work in this area, it's a good idea to have a library full of different symbols that you'll use. And so here's some things for mechanical, electrical, and architectural. We can create these different blocks. If I kind of switch back to our assignment, I can kind of toggle between the two. And so our assignment will be to create this computer lab, and we have the drawing itself. And so this is the student file. If I click on it and I open it, we get this computer lab, and this is my design center. And so I was using Design Center to insert my blocks because the 2021 version has a tendency to crash when I go to insert and when I go to insert these different blocks. I think it'll work if I drag and drop them onto it. If I don't, I'm sorry, because it will. No, it's not.
Just right click on it, Joe.
Yeah, we'll just use this one. You know how my computer is.
Yeah.
And so they have attributes. In other words, when I drag a block onto the screen, and think about it, how often do you replace computers? About every 3 to 5 years. And so, you know, it's changing. Computers are becoming now more personal items where people will be bringing in their computers. But we still have computer labs which have certain software and things. And so if you're a facilities manager, you can track your computers by using these attributes, and attributes are tags that you tie to the computer. And so this is a generic Dell. Here's the monitor, CRT. Good luck finding one of those nowadays. And then once we put that into the drawing, what we want to do is we want to look at the assignment. In the assignment, it shows you where the distances are. And if I click on the PDF, it'll just open that. I think it's somewhere here. There it is. So we'll offset the wall 2 feet and then 6 feet from each one of those. And then we'll locate these different computer monitors. And you can see it actually carries that attribute data to each of these different blocks. And so if I switch back to my CAD, I can come over here, go to my home tab, go to the offset to foot mark, enter, select the wall and then the side, and then repeat the offset command. But we're going to change the offset amount to 6 feet. So you need to use the foot mark when you enter the data. And then we just offset these as placeholders. And then we can take the block that we created and we can move it into the computer lab. And so we can then change this we can copy it and change this one to a Zenith NEC monitor back a long time ago when Zenith was just down the street from the Des Plaines campus. I like to copy them, and so I can just copy an existing block from here to here. And then if we double click on it, we can go and we can change the name of it. And so I think it was Zenith. And you can add the rest from the assignment, but you'll see it updates that information. And so the idea then is to go through and create the computer lab with that information as shown here. You can add the plotter, add the laser printer, etc. Once you have that information on the drawing, what you're going to do is you can erase these construction lines, or you can put them onto a layer that's turned off. And so very often what I'll do is I'll turn on my toolbars. And so what I'll do is I'll come over here to say tools, toolbars, CAD, layers. And I also like to turn on the toolbar for attributes, tools, toolbars, CAD, and what I meant to say was properties. That's what the attributes are. And so if I have these layers on, I can create a layer. A lot of times I'll create a layer called off, and then I'll just put things on the off layer. And it's a good way to be able to hold my place for anything I might need later. So I can grab these lines and then I can put them on a layer that's turned off. And so the information is still there. I can retrieve it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on the layout tab here for page 2. If I double click in the viewport, I can see that my viewport scale has been set up. 1/2 inch equals a foot. So this is great. That information is done for you. And then it's just a matter of going through and adding the title block information. So add the name, add the date. This is the CAD 116 course, and complete putting the layout information into the drawing. If we take a look back to the other information here, we were looking at the textbook and the standard blocks. And so you want to go through and you want to read the textbook, but you don't want to read it like for memory. You kind of look at it as a tool that's used to help you organize how you work with CAD, because CAD is a visual element. Okay, reading how to draw is like telling somebody how to hit a baseball. Okay, you just have to practice it. You can't really talk them through it or read a book on it. But yet, if you do read a book, it does help you. And so that's what we want you to do. You know, look at these basic block settings, how to insert these blocks, how to understand the different ways to work with the blocks, insertion points, you know, different things like these different elements, like these cars and other things. And so as you start to work with blocks, you want to kind of collect them, because if you work for a company and you're in charge of facilities, then you can have all these different computer blocks that you can then go through and manage. You can have desks, you can have chairs, etc. So that's the information on the last module. Module 10 is on inserting blocks. Do the best you can with the exercises. If you don't get every single module done, it's not the end of it's not that huge a thing, but you do want to ask for permission if you do need extra time. That's normal. That's how things are in the work world. And so as we go and we draw to a conclusion here, last assignment, CAD room and layout. Once you're completed with that, you're going to want to go through and then look at the practice quizzes. The final exam will be available next week, and we'll just start to wrap things up. All right, with that, I'm going to stop the recording and open things up for questions.